Hey, buckaroos and buckarettes, it's good to be back with you. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how to intonate an electric guitar. Now in principle, intonation is really easy. It's just moving the saddles and the bridge back and forth so that the guitar can be tuned properly. That seems kind of abstract. We're going to need a guitar. How about this one? This is a guitar I assembled from an inexpensive kit available through the STEM Guitar Project online. And it's basically a copy of a Stratocaster. And so I made my little headstock design here and I put a finish on it to kind of make it look unique. And it turned out pretty well. So if we intonate this guitar, what we're talking about doing is taking these saddles right here and moving them back and forth so that the guitar strings make the right frequency. Okay, still pretty abstract. Let me draw a picture. If we make a plot of the frequencies a string is supposed to have versus the ones it does have as you move down the neck, here's what that plot looks like. Right? Vertical axis is frequencies. And rather than try to write numbers down, let's normalize everything. Let's divide everything by the ideal frequency so that if the curve is at 1 all the way down the neck, then the guitar is going to be in tune all the way down the neck. So what we're aiming for is 1.0 right there. And then down here, this is the fret number. Okay, so this is the nut. You go all the way down here, you'll get to the 22nd or 24th fret, whatever, however many frets your guitar has. Now, without any intonation at all, if you put the saddle in the ideal position, here's what the frequencies look like. There's the first fret. It'll be 1 at the open string. We're assuming the strings are in tune. So without any frets at all, without pushing your finger down on a fret, all the frequencies will be at 1 right there. What it looks like without any correction at all is like this. Okay. As you go down the neck, the frequency gets higher and higher. The string gets sharper and sharper, and to the point where it really sounds out of tune. This is without any correction at all. Right? And this is unacceptable. If you do this with a steel string guitar anyway, when you go up the neck, it just doesn't sound right. A nylon string guitar, the strings are stretchy enough. Their elastic modulus is low enough. You don't need to worry about this nearly as much. Now, when you move the saddles back and forth, you make the string either a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. So as you press your finger down and you're stretching the strings a little bit to press them against the fretboard and they go a little sharp, you can actually move the saddle back a little bit to bring that frequency down. So if we intonate, we move the saddles back. And when I say back, I mean away from the headstock. What happens is this end of the curve bends down. Let's see if I can get green here. So a properly intonated guitar, the frequencies, instead of looking like this, they tend to look more like this, with this right here being the 12th fret. Okay? It crosses through 1.0 at the 12th fret the way we're going to do it. And even though you're off just a little bit theoretically, this is so small most people can't tell. And maybe if you use some kind of frequency measuring device, you could tell. We can tell a little bit with our tuners. But when you intonate properly and you bend this curve down, the guitar sounds a lot better. Now, just to be clear what I mean here, when I say move the saddles back, back is that way, forward is this way. So back means away from the headstock. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, if you want a little more information about this, check out this book. I wrote this book for the STEM Guitar Project. It's called Technology of the Guitar. Now, it's available on Amazon, but you and I both know it's available all over the web in PDF form. So, however you get it, check out the section on intonation, and it'll explain this in a little more detail. It'll actually explain how to fix that, too. It's easier than you think. So, with sort of the background, let's go to the practice. Let's go to my little workbench over here in my office, and I'll show you up close how to do this. Okay, so here we are on the bench. We have the guitar laid out here, and I've got the guitar on neck on some foam blocks. That nice soft foam lets the neck vibrate. The reason I'm interested in that is I'm going to use this tuner to tell whether the guitar is in tune or not, and this listens to neck vibrations. So the neck has to be free to move if it wants to, and the foam does that. The other tool we'll need here is a little Phillips screwdriver that's going to go in those screws back there on the back of the bridge, and that's what allows us to move the saddles back and forth. Okay, so just a quick overview of how this is going to work. Now, we have to start with the guitar with the action already set right. The saddle, or the nut here, has to have the slots cut to the right depth, and the saddles here have to have the height set correctly. So we're going to now set the intonation, which means moving these saddles back and forth to give us the correct pitch. And this is the last thing we'll do before you're ready to play. So the process is very simple. It happens in a couple of steps. The first is we bring the string to the correct pitch using our tuner here. We'll clip that to the headstock. The next thing we'll do is we'll put our fingers down on the 12th fret where those two dots are and check the pitch again. Now the 12th fret is halfway between the nut and the saddle, or at least the nominal position of the saddle. There's no one exact position for the saddles, but it's pretty close to halfway. And the way the physics work is when you shorten the string by half, reduce it by a factor of 2, the pitch goes up by a factor of 2. So the pitch when I push here should be double the pitch of the open string. And the way physics work is if you double the pitch, you go up by an octave. So this string is an E string. Just to remind you, it goes E, A, D, G, B, E. So this is the number 1 string. This is the treble E string, or the high-pitched E string. When it's open like this, we're at E4 on the chart. And when I go to here, I should be at E5. Well, this thing is going to be able to tell us whether we're sharp or flat right there. If the string is too sharp, that means the pitch is too high. We need to increase the length of the string a little bit. Well, how do you do that? You grab that saddle and you move it that way. If I go here to the 12th fret and instead of E I'm a little flat, I'm below the correct pitch, well, that means the string is too long, and I'll move the saddle forward. Before setting up here, I put these saddles in approximately the right position. If you want to take a pretty good guess to get yourself started, the heavier the string is, the more intonation it needs, the more backward bias on the saddle. Well, this high E string is very, very thin, and it needs very little intonation. So I've set the distance from the nut, inside edge of the nut, to the saddle, right there between those two height adjustment screws, to be 25.5 inches, or 648 millimeters, because that's the nominal scale length of the instrument. For each of these first 3, I've moved the saddles back a little farther, so they make a line that's a little bit of a diagonal. The 4th string, E, A, D, is a bigger string, but it's because it's wound. The core is actually pretty fine, so this string doesn't need a lot of intonation. So this one went back forward, and then I started marching them back again a little bit. So if you were to look at it from the top, I'll exaggerate here, you see 2 lines that are diagonals, defined by the positions of the saddles. So there's not much to this. Let's get started. Clip your tuner on. Clip it right there and see if I can set this so I don't get any glare. Turn it on and just start. So I'll bring this up to pitch, and it's very important that the open string be exactly on pitch. And there. Now it's at E. Okay, now if you look at the chart in the book, the pitch, the correct pitch for the string here at standard tuning for the number 1 string is 329.63 hertz. And this doesn't have a frequency readout, but it's very close. Go here and pluck again. And that one's spot on. Well, I guessed right. So we're just going to reproduce this process for the other 5 strings. So I'm going to move to the next string. This is now the B string, E, A, D, G, B, E. It should be, I think, 246 hertz. So let's try it. All right, so we're at pitch now. Push my finger down on the 12th fret and play again. And I guessed right again, so that one's good to go. Move to the next string. Okay, truth in advertising here, I checked the G string and it was very close as well. So I messed it up. I actually moved the saddle way too far forward, just so I could show you what it looks like when we do have to make a substantial adjustment. So let's execute our process again. Let's play the G string, and it's very close to being on pitch right now, as close as I can get with that tuner. Put my finger down on the 12th fret and pluck, and look at that, man, it's way sharp. All right, that means this saddle is too far forward. I got to move it back towards the back of the guitar. Now it's very hard to move a saddle while the string is under tension, so I'm going to make it nice and loose. Don't skimp here. Make it just like it's a wet noodle. That'll allow the saddle to move. I'm going to put my screwdriver here and twist. I'm going to turn, let's see, clockwise, looking that way, to tighten the screw up and move the saddle back. It's often good to put your hand on that and your finger on that just to push to help the screw. So there it goes. That looks about right here. So let's try it now. Well, this is now no longer at pitch, so let's bring it back up to pitch. You got to be real careful to bring this right to pitch. Okay, there, so that's pretty good. Push down on the 12th fret. Let's see how we do now. Still just a little bit sharp, so I'm going to loosen it up again and bring it back just a tad more. There. So bring it back up to pitch. Okay, it's at pitch. There, spot on. So there you have it. This is the process executed for the first 3 strings. Rather than you watching me do the last 3, why don't you go give it a try? It's not very hard to do, and you'll never have to pay anybody to intonate a guitar again for you. So I hope this helps, and we'll talk to you next time.